I'm Linda Segerstam, the founder of the Intelligent Core. In my relationships with my clients and family who have Parkinson's, I've found that exercises for Pilates exercises for Parkinson's need to be quite different depending on how Parkinson's affect you. So I always start with things like breathing, because breathing will help you find movement when things just stop and you don't know where to go. So I'm going to place my hands around my ribs. You don't have to, you can just breathe with me. So I'm placing them around the ribs to feel the space where I'm going to push my lungs out and use that space. So I'm going to breathe in through my nose. Feel the expansion of the ribs and chest, and then breathe out and let just chest relax. So do it a few times. So breathe in and then breathe out. You might find your shoulders start relaxing too. So breath in and then breathe out. One more time. Breathing in and then breathing out. Good. And then we're going to move to the floor. So for those of you that can't do exercises on the mat, there are also other routines where you can do things standing. So this is a floor-based routine, not all the way down, but kneeling and full point and seated. So let's get down onto the mat. So if you need something to support you to come down to the floor, just make sure you have something around you. I'm going to just come down onto my knees. So soft knees. And I'm going to think about how I can get the spine to start moving here. So I'm starting with just softly looking down and letting the hands just move down to the floor. I'm going to lift back up again. So I'm just going to lift my stomach muscles and just pull the hands away from the floor and just keep going with that. That's my first exercise. So I'll look down and then press the hands into the floor into what we call full point kneeling. And then lift the stomach muscles up and then push away from the floor. So if it's very controlled and very Pilates-y, keeping our weight, and then we push forward, bit of squeeze through the buttocks, and the same coming up. So I'm lifting my stomach muscles, lifting, soften that chest, head starts going down. I'm pulling up from my core to lift back up again. So if that feels like too much to think about, just move towards the floor. Fingertips, walk your hands forward, and then we lift. Let's do this one more time after this one. So we lift back up again, and then roll the chest forward. Think about how our buttock muscles and legs are working together with the stomach muscles. So I'm going to lift up and now come into what we how we work with the hip. So I'm going to bring one foot forward. If you need something to hold on to, chair, sofa, bring that leg forward or just swing the leg there. So I'm going to move forward with the hip and then hinge back and just think about the space that I create in front of the hip. Now I want to support the back with this, so I'm going to think about the stomach muscles lifting up slightly and just moving forward and back again. Some of you with Parkinson might find this is quite unbalanced. So the foot can go slightly out to the side. Let's give you a bigger platform. You can also hold on to something on the side or placing the hand onto the knee to give you that space of balance. So let's do a couple more. We're going forward, one more time, and then back, and I'm going to bring that knee back down again and take that knee forward again. Hold on to something if you need it, place the foot forward, and then we start to hinge again. So supporting with the hand, I feel like that hand needs to be there on the thigh, or even both hands. And just softly move the hip forward without overloading the back. So we got a feeling of openness on the front of the hip that's behind you, and then pushing lightly into the hip that's going forward. Good. Let's do a couple more. Okay, one more time. And then we come to rotation. So I'm going to bring the knee back. I'm going to go back to that first leg. So you can lean forward, bring the leg in front, then lift back up again. So now the arms are going to be part of this too. So if it feels really unbalanced, you're going to hold on to something again with one arm. Otherwise, lifting both arms, take that foot slightly out to the side. So supporting, push the hip forward. And then we're going to go to the side with the leg behind. So I'm going to turn the palms in, and I'm just going to open the chest and then return the arm and chest. So here, see how it feels to move around the arm and shoulder and chest and hip. And then we go to the other side. So again, you can support with one hand on the knee or hold onto something. And then we move to the other side and return. So I'm not moving my hip much. I got a bit of squeeze in my buttocks and definitely stomach muscles working because then you need to balance you out. Good. Let's do one more. Open. And then we return the hip back, take the knee down, and then wiggle yourself to the other leg. So if you need to come 4-point, do that, or just push the leg in front if that feels good. So we go forward slightly past the knee, and then we lift the arms again. If you need balance, hold on to something. And then we start turning towards the back hip, rotate, and return the arm. Now how can the breathing help? We need to breathe. So breath in for stability, breathe out to return. Breath in for stability in your rotation, which will help if you're feeling a bit imbalanced. Let's do one more. So open, return, and then change sides. So I'm going to open towards the other leg. And again, if you need that balance point, holding onto something is going to help you whilst you're getting flexibility around your hips and joints. So I'm going to breathe in to stabilize that movement and breathe out to return one more time. Breath in. And then breathe out to return. Good. And then push that hip away. So coming into the next exercise, which will be our cat move. So it can be done 4-point kneeling or standing. If you're standing, you have your hands gently pressing into your knees, and then you're going to curve the spine. So we're going to try to lift the stomach muscles up, allowing the head to go forward, and then hips, mid, back, and shoulders and head go back. If it doesn't make sense to start with, keep going with this exercise. It is very good, nice for your spine. So we place the hips back, the lower back, the mid back, the shoulders, and the head. Don't hold your breath. Make sure you breathe somewhere. In this position, you can do the breathing either way, but it just helps you find freedom to move. And lift the chest. Let's do 2 more. So we let the tailbone roll under, lifting into your chest, drop the head. So for any of you that feel that pace slow is really tricky, you can go a bit quicker, of course. I'm just showing you so you can see the movement in my spine. Good. And I'm going to come back into position, and I'm going to change. I'm going to let my hip go sideways. So again, for knees, if you need to lift your foot up, the push off the floor, you roll away. Now coming into your seated position. So we go for what we call a C curve. So placing the feet nice and softly away. I'm going to lift my chest up. I'm going to hold the back of the leg. You can have the arms in front for harder. So I'm going to let my spine go into a C curve, which is allowing that hip to return and the chest soften to start with, and then lift and just see what it feels like, similar to our cat, just in a slightly different position. Okay, so roll under. And now I'm going to keep my upper body and mid back almost still. So I'm just going to let my lower tailbone and hip move, which then becomes more of a pelvic tilt. And then push up again. So stomach muscles scoop in, breath in, and then breathe out, lift. Okay, so we're coming to hip mobility, which is the zigzag. You want to have somewhere where you can slide your feet. So my mat is not slided, so I'm going to have to move my mat to be able to do the zigzag. So I'm just going to do one more. If you need to move your mat, you're doing it now. So you have somewhere where you can slide your feet, your socks onto the floor, or a mat that's sliding. So I'm going to just push the mat back, so I've got a lot of space in front of me. And then I'll be able to use it to slide the legs. So hands go behind your zigzag seated. It can be done lying down too. So I'm going to let one knee go out to the side. I'm going to slide the foot out and glide and turn the toes and knee back and then pull it back in. That's the exercise. So whilst this leg is moving, I'm going to keep the other leg still. So hip mobility. If it feels really tight in your hip, you're going to breathe, breath in. Breathe out. Obviously breathe anyway, but really focusing on your breath if it's tight in the hip. There we go. So keep in mind the knee still and then change in leg. So the knee goes out to the side, ending up on your side of your foot. Slide the foot out, return the toes and knees, and then glide back in. Okay, so do it slowly a couple of times, because now comes the focus on where the push comes from your stomach muscles. Right, so we change to the first leg again. Now when the knee goes out, you're going to push from your stomach. So feel this here and pull back in from your stomach. So it became a core exercise. I'm leaning backwards to make it easier for the hips. For those that feel it's quite tight on hips. If you obviously can sit upright, you can sit up taller and then do the same exercise and then push out and bring it back in. Changing leg. So lean back if you need to, glide, turn, pull the knee back in again. Breathe in, breathe out from your stomach, okay? And if you can sit up higher, obviously sit up a bit higher. Let's do one more, massaging our hip sockets. Good, and now we're gonna come up to standing. So coming up to standing from here, it could be tricky for some of you. So you might have to use something near you to lift up and push yourself up from. I'm going to just turn my feet. So I'm going to bring the knees down. I'm going to push myself into 4-point, walk the knees back. So I've got a bit of support from the mat. I'm going to take the toes under. I'm going to roll up from here. Place the knuckles next to the knees. Weight balance. So of course this is very much balance work now. Pushing the knees off the floor. So I end up walking my feet forward a bit. Now squeeze through the buttocks as you lift away from the floor and then come all the way back up. Okay, so when it comes to our standing exercises, we can hold on to things. You can be freestanding, both work. So starting first with moving forward. So our toes are there. So I know with Parkinson, sometimes feeling of falling is going to be a big thing. But remember, our toes and feet are there to support us. If you need to hold on to something, you hold on to something as you roll and let the arms and shoulders move towards your toes. And then feel the weight around your back. So it's a nice way of feeling space in your back. And then we lift back up again, stomach muscles, and then push the shoulders back. Okay, so let's do a couple of those. So obviously it could be done one hand onto wall and just go to where you feel comfortable to go. Looking towards your knees and then lift back up again. Shoulders roll back. Okay, now we come to shoulders and arms. So we're going to roll the shoulders, lift the shoulders up and the shoulders down. So start massaging our shoulders. I'm just going to come down. I'm going to be kneeling just so you can see me better, but you can do standing. So I'm going to roll the shoulders back. Really think about space. Okay, now I can change this by bringing the hands. If you've got mobility, bringing your hands to your shoulders. We're going to lift the elbows and then take them out to the side, level with the ears, and then go down again. So lift, open. So I'm breathing in. And I'm breathing out. Good. So nice way of massaging the shoulders if this is okay for you, because some joints here can be quite tight, which means it's hard to get those arms lifting a bit higher. Okay, coming into backstroke arms. So I'm kneeling, but you are standing up. So arms in front. I'm going to take one arm up and the other one down. So one arm up and then change in the middle. And just see if the arms are happy to move here. So reach. Good. And then come into something called chicken wings. So we're going to do some exercise against the wall, but starting first with what is chicken wings. So the arms go up together. And then the elbows glide down towards your waist, or a little bit higher. And then we reach back up again. Obviously this can be done against the wall, which is quite nice. So I'm going to move myself towards the wall. So coming up again, if you happen to end up on the floor, lift up, roll up, squeeze the legs together, using a wall. So I'm going to place my hip onto the wall and the back. So you can do this freestanding, but just nice if you have a wall, a mirror, a door, something to slide on. Feet, make sure you don't slip forward, but there's a bit of space between the feet and the wall. And then we take the arms up here. And see if we can keep the connection of the hip, the rib cage, and maybe your head on the wall to start with. Okay, chicken wings. So we lift the arms up. We're going to let the elbows glide. You might not touch the wall, but you can feel it's there. So we glide the elbows, looking ahead, and then reach up. And glide the elbows and lift up. For those of you that want to work your legs already, you will be in a deeper push down with the knees slightly coming forward. Squeeze from your buttocks down, not just from your frontal legs. One more time. Lift up And then we slide back up if you ended up there, and then take the arms back. Push away from the wall, and then come into your squat. So squat, again with balance, it's part of our sitting to standing movement. So again, can be a bit tricky when it comes to Parkinson's. So hold on to something if you need to. We push the hips back, chest comes forward, and then we squeeze the buttocks, lifting the hip coming forward. So find your tempo. It doesn't have to be super slow now. Buttock muscles are big muscles. But make sure that whatever you're holding on to, you're not holding on with dear life and you're just pulling through your arms. We want to work the leg muscles. So squeeze, push forward with the hip, and bend from the hip hinge, which is about there, hinging from the hip and lifting back up. If you feel, yeah, I feel good with my squats and I don't have to hold on to something, you can use the hands and press and then squeeze, lift. The tempo can be different. I'm just doing it quite slow so you can see what I'm doing. I'm making sure my knees are not falling forward. I'm getting that chest just enough forward for my body, and then I'm pushing the hip slightly past my standing position with a squeeze from the buttocks. Good. Push forward. Now you can hold it if it feels good to just test your strength. There we go. The buttocks muscles working. Not hanging forward with your knees too far. The chest is in the perfect position of holding on to something. And now we squeeze, lift, pushing forward. Good. Okay, shake out the legs a little bit. There we go. So if you can, shake them out a bit. And that was our exercise routine for today. So obviously there are many different ways to do exercise for Parkinson's, like I say, and balance work, one-sided, is sort of the next step if your balance is something that you feel challenged about. So hope you enjoyed the exercises, and then keep moving.